Hi, everyone. Total Life Concept. I'm Lauren. I am a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, and I am alone today. So we're gonna dive into all sorts of fun stuff. And what I thought would be really cool to talk about today, because it is a new year and it is the time for New Year's resolutions, to talk about how we can make those New Year's resolutions more likely to stick. That is definitely my wheelhouse. It's something I'm very passionate about. And so I hope that today I'm able to talk a little bit about that and what you can do to make your New Year's resolutions more robust. So if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments. So to dive in, I thought the best place to start is to talk a little bit about why wellness visions, or excuse me, why resolutions tend to fail. And there's a number of reasons for this. And one of them is that you're not actually going to make the change. There's a lot of information out there, especially with social media, friends, maybe healthcare professionals that are telling you that you have to change something. Maybe you've been recently diagnosed with a disease, or you are on the brink of that with something like prediabetes, and you're told you need to change your diet, your lifestyle, your sleep patterns, and that sort of thing. And just because it tells you that you should, it doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. I don't use to anyone. So one reason that resolutions fail is that they may not actually be coming from us. They may be coming from external source. And so we're not actually ready to make the change. And if we're not, then we may do it for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, and then we're not keep at them. The other thing that leads to failure of New Year's resolutions is going too big. It is exciting, the new year, to be able to be feeling like it's a refreshing new start. I love that. I think that's an energy to roll with. But sometimes we get really excited and we put a bunch on our goals. And I am guilty of this. I could pull out my New Year's resolutions from last year, and I had, I think, 5, 7 different categories, career, health, adventure, and in those, like probably 3 different goals. And I look at them now and I laugh because I think I've accomplished part of maybe 2 or 3 of them. And there's a lot of others that go into it, but I was trying to change so much and make so many goals. And if we aren't prepared and set up for that, then we're not very likely to stick to it. And going to can also lead to feeling really sad in the end or feeling discouraged because, for example, if we decide we want to make all these diet changes, what can happen is there's a lot that goes into that, right? It's like, what's the support around that? What are the biological factors that are maybe pulling you to certain foods and like that? And so what can happen is we go really big and it's just too much to manage. And we fail and then feel bad about ourselves and we feel like something's wrong with us. So again, going too big, not the best. It's better to go small. The other thing is on that same subject is it's not progressive. If your resolution isn't progressive, what that means is that it's kind of another way of saying going too big, right? You're thinking of the end in sight when really you might need to start really small and build up to that eventually. So you might have this ultimate goal that by the end of 2023 you're doing something, and you'll want to be making sure you've got steps leading up to that. If you're just trying to jump right into 5 days of working out when you haven't worked out at all in the last year, then that wouldn't be very progressive. But having the goal of working for 5 days a week by the end of the year, that's totally doable and something you could break down. Other reason that resolutions tend to fail is there's no support. I wish that it was all willpower, but willpower is not that counts when it comes to behavior change. A big thing is the people in your life, the community in your life, the places, your resources, and even your strengths. And without identifying those support systems, we can fail resolutions. And you may put every best effort and intention into that, but if we haven't thought through what kind of people you might need to help you through hard times, what kind of money might go into that, what like that you might need, again, we may fail. And we may blame ourselves for that when really we just didn't set up the support we needed. And then, last, but certainly not least, another reason that our resolutions fail is that we never connected to our why. We may think it would be great to lose weight, and so we'll start working out more. But if we don't take a little bit of time to figure out why losing weight is important to us and attaching that micro step of working out more to that why, then when it gets down to your fourth day in your second week of doing this resolution, you're exhausted because you've woken up early to work out every day, you may be fertile grounds for saying, yeah, I'm going to sleep. That counts, and talk yourself out of it. We have to be able to connect and know that the reason we want to lose weight is because we want to feel better about ourselves, or we want to feel capable in our work or in our goals. And so if we do that and we connect that, more likely to pull ourselves out of it to do it. And so we really have to think those things through. So those are a couple reasons why a lot of our resolutions fail. And I think it's important to address just to kind of reflect on what stood out to you with your current resolutions. Have you thought of any of those, and what do you have them to support those? If you haven't thought about some of that, the rest of today is great because we're going to be able to really dive into some of the things you can do to make this more robust. So one of the reasons I had said, right, is that we didn't connect it to the why, your why. We haven't connected our action step or our resolution to our deeper reason. So there's a couple important steps here, and one is to identify your values. What are, just in general, the most important things to you in life? Is it family? Is it growth? Is it God? Is it adventure, love, accountability? I mean, you can look up a list of hundreds of values and just kind of pull out what works for you. Maybe you can't identify those off the top of your head. It's a great exercise to have those in the back of your mind just in general. But identifying those values is a really important first step to any sort of behavior change. Other thing is that you can go into something called a wellness vision. And what you can think of is, where do you actually want to be here? How does the new you, or a better version of you, or a different version of you look at the end of 2022? And just thinking about that is a great place to start versus starting at the what. You're starting about like the why and the how, that the actual outcome of what you want, because then you can break it down and think, okay, how do I get there? So if I'm like, I want to be more well-spoken, if that was my personal goal, I might think of a million different ways. It might be, okay, I need to sleep because my mind will work better, or I need to read more so I have more vocabulary to use. You can see there's a lot of directions to go with that. And so having a wellness vision, which is essentially just the image that represents the way you want to live and living your best possible life within your values. Hello, whoever's there. We're talking about how to make your New Year's resolutions more likely to stick. If you have questions, let me know. And right now we're talking about the wellness vision. And so with the wellness vision, you're able to really have this bigger picture about what you want to do and why you want it. And by doing that, again, you're more likely to stick to it when it gets to that nitty-gritty daily life. When you want to skip out on this little goal you've created or this little resolution, you're able to pull back and say, why am I doing this? And a lot of times that vision is enough to kind of pull us farther and to allow us to keep going when we normally wouldn't want to. All right, then after that, as I mentioned, kind of starting there on the big picture is a really great place to go. From there, you want to get focused in, and that's where you want to kind of consider all the options that you could do to get yourself to where you want to be. And I already kind of gave some examples of that. From there, this is where you can build that resolution. This is where a lot of us just jump into. We just start right here. It is called building your resolution, right? We don't think about our values. We don't think about where we want to be necessarily. We just think about like one small thing we want to change. And so now that we've done some of that other work, we can start considering what we need to do to build our resolution. And that's where this whole concept of SMART goals comes in, which you've probably heard of, is my guess. It's used in a million different industries, and what it stands for is SMART. So S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is realistic, and T is time bound. There's some different variations of that, but they all kind of fit into that. And the reason you want to make them SMART is it makes it more likely to happen because you're thinking through the details of it. So instead of you saying, I want to work out more, that is not really giving yourself much of an action plan. It's not really giving yourself a way to quantify or qualify whether you have accomplished this. Being more specific brings it to life. So if we were to look at that same concept of I want to work more, what is specific? Okay, I want to work out 3 times a week in the morning, and I am going to go to a fitness class. So that's a very specific goal. M is measurable, and I used the word 3. I was going to do it 3 times a week, and that's something that would allow me to know, did I do 3 classes a week, or did I do 4 or 2 or none? That allows us to measure whether or not it worked. Then we have attainable and realistic. That's only something you can figure out. You want something attainable, something that challenges you to be more than just what's easy, but not so hard that it's not realistic, that you're not going to do it. So you want it to stretch you, but you want it something you can attain. And then that's where the realistic part comes in. You need to think about where you are now and what actually makes sense as a step. So work out at all, maybe the realistic step is to do 20 minutes on an app 2 times a week or 3 times a week. Again, that's only something you'll be able to figure out for yourself. And then time bound is in that particular goal, I said each week, right? I'm saying in each week, I'm going to do 3 days a week of working out. Again, that allows me the ability to really know if I'm going to accomplish this or not, or to know what context in which I'm building this goal. So SMART goals, some people hate them, some people love them, but they do tend to help us in our journey and sticking to our resolution. Now, a couple last things to think about. One is support. I mentioned that one of the main reasons we fail our resolutions is that we don't have support. And so one of the best things you can do is before committing to a resolution is to think about how you can ensure you're going to be successful. What people do you have in your life you could ask to be part of their fitness journey that might you stay accountable? I know when I've signed up for things with friends, I'm really excited to do these things because I'm just doing something that's bettering myself, but I'm getting to bond with people that I love, and that's important to me. So it might not even just be someone who's going to do something, but someone who checks in with you, someone who's kind of your cheerleader on the side. Perhaps it's a partner who will go forward with eating a little better. But if you don't have their buy-in, their part of it, it's going to be really hard to stick to some of this stuff, especially if they're in your day-to-day life and they do not have similar goals. So you want to make sure you have their support. Then you also can think of what strengths do you have that might help you? Perhaps you're really good organization, and you may have not even thought about how that could help you in accomplishing a wellness goal. You could use that and be like, all right, well, I'm really good at organizing meetings. I always attend everything. I never miss something. Then you apply that to this resolution. You figure out, okay, I'm really good at that, so I'm going to plug it into my calendar the way I plug in that important meeting with my boss. You can also think about what places do you have to help you. If we're thinking about that fitness goal, you might start thinking about where in my house might I be able to move? What access to gyms do I have? Maybe my workplace offers some sort of deal to help pay for a gym membership of some sort. So really exploring and thinking through those really, really help you have more success because you have the framework to support it. Very important. Very, very, very important. And once you figure all that out, you tap it back in. You constantly remind yourself of that wellness vision and of your values and remind yourself, well, how does that play a role here? So that's a little bit about how you can make your resolution stick. Hopefully you have thing that you're excited about if you are choosing to do resolutions. And I hope that something in this video stood out to you as something that you can reflect upon and think of how it might help you. So if you have any questions about this, please comment below or in the comment box, wherever it is on the place that you're watching this. And I'll make sure to respond or talk about it in another call or future live Get Busy Living with Total Life concept. And we'll keep it rolling. There'll be another topic on behavior change later this month. We're also going to talk probably about depression and mental health and what you can do with your lifestyle to better support mental health. We're going to talk about creative ways to stay active in the winter. And I can't remember what our other topic is. Oh, it's very important. How do you, are you doomed to your genetics, basically? What can you do to prevent what you may think is a death sentence because of your genes? So some really fun topics coming up. If anything in those topics sounds interesting, just let us know. Tell us what you're excited about. Tell us what questions you may have, and we'll make sure to address them. It was so great to with you, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Wednesday.